Okay, I will call to order the January 21st meeting of the City of Maplewood Parks and Recreation Commission. We will start with the roll call. Rory? Here. Siham? Here. Vicky?
Here.
Terry?
Here.
Jason is here. Monica?
Here.
Next is the approval of the agenda. I will accept a nominate. I can't think of the word.
I'll make a motion.
Yes,
to
I'll accept the
approve
motion from Vicky.
the agenda.
Anybody second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes. Similarly, we will do the approval of minutes from November 19, 2025. I believe they're in front of us.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I wasn't here. Second the approval of the minutes.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes from November 19th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes, and we are on to new business. It looks like number one is the Battle Creek St. Croix River Regional Trail Long Range Plan.
All right, thank you, Chair, members of the Commission. Happy New Year. Here we are in 2026. And today we are going to start out our meeting with our guests from Washington County. We have Andrea Ream and Connor Schaefer, and they're here to talk about a really exciting project that's coming up in the future, Battle Creek to St. Croix River Regional Trail Long Range Plan. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the two of them, and they can tell you all about it.
Thanks, Audra, and thank you, Chair and Commission, for allowing us this time on your agenda this evening. As Audra mentioned, my name is Andrea Ream. I'm a planner at Washington County Public Works, and I'm joined by my colleague, Connor Schaefer, who is the Senior Parks and Trails Planner for Washington County. And we are here to provide a project update about the Battle Creek to St. Croix River Regional Trail Long Range Plan. For the last year or so, we've been working with staff, Audra and Steve Love, and we'd like to take this opportunity to provide you a project overview, starting with some project background, as well as walk you through our trail segment evaluation. And then we'll end on sort of where we're at in our process and what's next up for the project. So we'd like to begin with two quick definitions. The first is, what is a regional trail? A regional trail is distinct from other types of trails, as its purpose is to serve a regional audience, meaning it must attract users from across cities and counties and connect regional destinations, such as regional parks, state parks, downtowns, and things of that nature. We often describe a regional trail as the tree trunk of the trail system, or as the wider trail system, because it acts like an arterial roadway where local routes will feed into this larger trail. A regional trail comes with an elevated trail experience in that the county design standard wherever possible is a 10-foot wide paved trail with a 10-foot buffer from vehicle traffic, and it also has amenities like trailheads, kiosks with interpretive opportunities, bike repair stations, and some of those nicer things to have on a trail. A long-range plan is the planning document that we're putting together. It includes guidance on a future trail alignment, as well as the location, development, and operation of trail facilities. For example, a long-range plan will call out where we would like to put trailheads and kiosks, and it also will speak to places where we might think intersection improvements are needed, and things like that. A long-range plan also has to address how the county will protect and enhance natural resources within the corridor. An example of that in past plans we've done is identifying areas that can be planted with native plantings as a pollinator effort to help pollinators. Proposed trail project must be consistent with a long-range plan to receive certain kinds of funding from the state and Met Council. And it also, having that long-range plan in the long run makes it eligible for annual maintenance reimbursements. Lastly, a long-range plan is very important because it is our opportunity to engage with our partner agencies and the public on helping to shape what the regional trail system looks like, and helps those folks also plan ahead for how they're planning their own projects, knowing what our plans are. One major point to make about a long-range plan is that, as the name suggests, it is long-range plan. We also often call this a step 0 in the regional trail process. It's a high-level document documenting the vision of a future trail. And so after this plan is completed and adopted, there are still 3 phases that follow it, including a feasibility study and preliminary design, final design, and construction. Each of those phases come with their own opportunities for public engagement and conversations with our partners. At this time, preliminary design, or the next step for this trail, is not in Washington County's capital improvement plan, so not in the next 5 years planned of projects. For this long-range plan, we are looking at this blue shape on the slide here represents what our search area was. Our ultimate goal is to create a east-west arterial trail to link Battle Creek Regional Park and Maplewood to Woodbury and Afton in the St. Croix River. From end to end, the trail will be about 13 miles. For this long-range plan, we are working in an area with a lot of planning work already done. And we wanted to note that the county has reviewed and will continue to reference existing planning documents that the county, city, and watershed have put together as we continue through our process. Stakeholder engagement for this plan was set up in a 3-tier engagement structure represented by this graphic on the screen. So the first and smallest group is project leadership, or the project management team, which includes folks from Washington County Parks, engineering, planning, and then our consultant, a landscape architecture firm that we hired. And those are the people that are working on the day-to-day work of the plan and are the center of information for the other groups involved. The second tier extends to key stakeholders, and that's organized formally into a technical advisory committee. That technical advisory committee includes other county staff, state and federal agencies, city and townships. For example, Audra has been attending, and Steve Love invited for the city of Maplewood. And those folks are weighing in at key milestones and offering their local expertise in their different communities. The final tier and the largest tier is the engagement with the general public, and that includes seeking input from residents and trail users through open houses, pop-ups, and online engagement. What this graphic is representing is the flow of information. So decision-making flows from the project leadership group and is vetted by the key stakeholders or the technical advisory committee before things reach the general public. And the opposite is also true. Things that we're hearing in our public engagement, we're analyzing with our TAC members, and they're helping us make some of those key decisions along the way. The timeline of this planning process, we did kick off this project last winter. In the spring and summer of 2025, our focus was on engagement and data collection. Towards the end of summer and into fall, we turned to route development. And we're sort of in that box still. Looking ahead, we're hoping to wrap this plan up by spring of 2026 and start bringing the planning document through the approvals process. One final piece of background information before I hand it off to Connor to talk about that route evaluation is what our engagement with the public looked like and some of the key messages that we heard along the way. So public engagement to date has included an open house, several events at pop-ups at events throughout the corridor, and also online engagement, including an online survey that we promoted at those events and also on the county's social media, which we received around 720 responses to. There was also engagement along the way with different agency staff checking in at those key milestones. The key takeaways from in-person engagement with the public were that folks were excited about a trail that hit these destinations. They value safe crossings and separations from vehicle traffic. We also heard some concerns in parts of the corridor about cost and impact to roads or private property. The survey results shared similar themes. Crossings of major roadways and personal safety, as well as separation from vehicle traffic, were key factors in how folks were using or not using trails. The results also showed that respondents highly valued opportunities to experience nature. Our conversations with local partners and staff along the way helped our project team identify key opportunities and challenges, such as leveraging planned or future projects, removing any routes that might be non-starters, and identifying destinations to highlight. And we really appreciate those conversations. They bring a local expertise that at a county level, we know that the local communities know their communities best. And so I will pause there if anyone has any questions about project background before Connor walks you through sort of the lines on the map and our process for evaluating those.
So where it says that you've engaged with the public and one of their concerns was private land or for businesses and homes, will there be a lot of homes and business and or businesses that are going to be affected by this? And will they have trees so that it's not like right in their yard or anything, or?
Chair and Commissioner, the county's philosophy is we would like to work with willing partners, so we avoid taking of property. In the routes that we've identified, there is no to minimal property impacts. The level of detail about whether or not trees would be impacted is something that would be evaluated in a future design stage. We're not quite at that level of detail yet.
Okay, yeah. I live on a state trail, and it's awesome. I think it's great. We all love it, but I know when it was first put in, they did tell us that, don't worry, we'll have trees put up and everything, and I've been 34 years now, and we've got one tree on a 2-block thing, and that tree didn't get very big. So, and I know that was one of our big concerns, so I just was wondering if we're taking that into consideration with our...
Absolutely, yeah. In that preliminary design phase, we look at the recommended route that we ultimately get to and see how we can avoid impacting vegetation, and then work through those stakeholders if there are concerns about, adding back landscaping as possible.
And we have it's been awesome living on the trail. We really haven't had any issues with anything. It's great to watch up there, and it gets used all the time, by me, too. So great. Thank you.
I just had a quick question. So just for clarification, the long-range plan timeline, which box are we in currently? Just because it looks like you've already gotten some engagement. So just wanted to...
Oops.
Oh.
We're looking at the overall timeline or the
Oh, it's
specific to this project?
The long-range one.
Okay.
That one.
Yes.
So winter, spring 2025, or are we...
We are sort of at the third box.
Third
the tail
box.
end of the third box.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So the seasons are a little...
That's okay. I was like, oh, looking at this, and it looked like you were farther along. I was thinking we were in the first box, so that's great. Thank you.
You also mentioned that it's not in the capital planning, so maybe you guys will talk about this after this, but what comes after this last step then?
Chair and Commissioner, what comes next, what would be the next step is a feasibility or preliminary design. And so that, as I mentioned, is not in this 5-year CIP, but the way that often regional trails are implemented is in conjunction with other types of projects. So we do our best to incrementally build out portions as we are able to. This preliminary design one is not in the 5-year plan as of now. Sometimes as projects come up, things push things forward. So not yet in the CIP, not conclusively not happening.
Andrea, if I could ask, just to clarify, it's not in your current CIP, but I'm making an assumption your CIP is similar to ours, where every year you revisit the CIP. So even if it's not in the 5-year plan, if they get further along in their project, it could be sooner than 5 years, it could be later, it all just is dependent. Does that make
Accurate,
sense? Okay.
yes.
I had a question about the signage and amenities. You mentioned that there would be signage and amenities on the trail, and I just wanted some clarification on what there would be, like, overall.
Yes, Chair and Commissioners, the signage and amenities, once we land on a recommended route alternative, we look at the different stops along the way and sort of plot out which would be a good space for a trailhead, which would include, more extensive signage. It would usually be a spot where there's parking availability. And then there's incremental things along the way. Every certain amount of distance, you'd then put a kiosk, which would be like a natural resting point. And that's often where we'll incorporate interpretive signage. So, a story about something along the trail of interest. And then the last bit of signage that we often include is directional signage, which is smaller signage just to ensure that people know that they're still on the right trail.
With this type of trail, I know Ramsey County probably wouldn't, but Washington County, I know they have a lot of snowmobiles and stuff. Is this just for bikes and walking and like electric bikes, or will there be snowmobiles and motorized vehicles on it also?
Chair and Commissioner, the trails are intended for paved trail users, so bikers, walkers. When it's possible and when we construct these things, we do sometimes, if there's room, have like a parallel soft surface trail or maybe on the other side of the road. So we do take into consideration what existing snowmobile routes are and try not to impact those.
All right. So I'll just introduce myself, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Connor Schaefer. I'm a senior planner at Washington County, and I'll be taking us through the next phase of this presentation. And that's to talk about the evaluation process. So something that Audra has been involved with throughout this process is how do we want to go from A to B, but there's a million different ways that we could get there. How do we choose? So we want to present a little bit on background on how we approached it on the Washington County side of things. Really, this is a good way to show the process. The first step being the exploration phase. So that's when we aren't even putting lines on the map yet. We're just looking at destinations, topography, right-of-way and parcel ownership, population and demographics. Those types of data inventory processes happens during this first step. And then we throw spaghetti at the wall, meaning we're throwing every line that could possibly connect these different things. That's the analogy we like to use. Then we move to phase 2 or step 2, and we do that initial plotting. So we throw spaghetti at the wall, and now we see what sticks. Some lines we know don't make sense because of some of those challenges that we talked about, topography, or land ownership, or talking with staff, know that a trail there doesn't fit for some environmental reason, things like that. So we do that additional research and site review to figure out which of those lines have fatal flaws and aren't worthy of further analysis. We also do engagement with the public on some of those initial lines as well. That moves us to step 3, the segment evaluation piece, and that's actually where I'm going to spend most of the time today talking about. So we have what lines remain, and then we come up with a scoring matrix that then scores those lines and figures out which of those lines meet the project goals the best. And I'll have a little bit more information on that in just a second. As part of that process, we're also working with staff to help us score those segments, and we're bringing a lot of different measures and data into that process too. And then that leads us to a route recommendation. So hopefully throughout those first 3 steps, we have some clear lines that are scoring better, that meet the project goals, and something that we can move forward through an approval process. And then we'll vet those options through for local support as well. So like I said, I'm going to zoom in on that segment evaluation process. What we first do is we cut the corridor up into 4 zones, and then we cut all the lines that we had left from that spaghetti at the wall process into 56 segments. That's how it worked in this plan at least. And then we take our 6 project goals, which is what we started with. We really had a lot of input into those 6 goals, both from the public and from the Technical Advisory Committee. Those 6 goals were safety and accessibility, equity and inclusion, implementation, connectivity, natural resources and resiliency, and high-quality trail experience. Of those 6 goals, we attached objectives and performance measures that are associated with those goals. So one example would be safety and accessibility. One of those objectives could be we want above grade or below grade crossings at busy intersections. That would be one way to have a safe and accessible trail. Well, then how do we measure that? We'll look at, is there enough space to build a above grade or below crossing, or is there one existing? And then we'll score it based on that last metric. So that's how we go from 6 goals to 53 performance measures, and we score all 56 segments based on those 53 performance measures. We create this big spreadsheet that ranks each of these segments by those 6 goals. We provide this data to our Technical Advisory Committee, once again filled with a lot of staff for agencies across the corridor, and we see how the segments compare to one another, specifically within their same zone. So just to pop up, back. There we go. Those 4 zones, we're comparing to other segments in that zone. And so this is an example. This graphic here shows Zone 1, which is the zone Maplewood is in. You can see some of the lines that we had on the map, and we can see how we scored those lines, and how not only how they scored totally, but how did they score broken down by each of those 6 goals. Each of those 6 goals are represented by a different color in that stacked bar chart. And really, this is a really helpful way, once again, to compare trail segments against one another to figure out which of these segments are best to move forward in our recommendation process. Something I like to call out here is that the evaluation scores are used as just as a guide. They're just an imperfect attempt to take a quantitative tool to measure a really complicated problem. For example, we didn't get too hung up if there is a difference of 0.01 compared to something. Like, those are pretty, those are tough to really compare. But if there's a large difference between trail segments, we're definitely taking that account. Something else we're taking into account is just obvious navigation connections. So when we see the next slide where it shows the map of all the lines, you can't really connect the highest scoring routes because one might be in the very north part of the segment, a couple might be in the south, a couple might be in the middle, and from a trail user perspective, that wouldn't be very easy to navigate. So these are just kind of start or ways to quantify this, but we still have to have a little bit of wiggle room to make the right connection and provide the right recommendation moving forward. Here is the results of this analysis. I'm happy to go in more detail on that on what brings us here, but I just want to first orientate people to the figure we're showing here. Once again, all 56 segments were scored, and they were compared to the other segments within their zone. Those zones are kind of outlined here in kind of the different gray colors here. The colors of the segment themselves represent how high they scored. The darker and deeper red are the higher scoring segments. The lighter, softer yellows are the lowest scoring segments. So you can kind of see with your eyes where there are some really high scoring segments throughout this corridor. A couple other things I want to mention here to orientate folks is that a lot of the trails, specifically in the western side of this corridor, are designating existing trails. So part of this process is looking at what trails exist right now within the corridor and how does that compare? What are the trade-offs involved for building new segments of trail where they don't exist? So that is all getting factored in here too. I am going to talk about, spend time today talking about what's outlined here in the bluish, kind of bluish gray, grayish blue lines here. Those are the routes that we as staff feel we would like to move forward in the recommendation process. So I'll just briefly talk through those but don't worry, the next slide will summarize a lot of my talking points here as we go through those. I'm actually going to start on the western side of the corridor right there in Maplewood. All the different options that we're moving forward with, once again outlined in that bluish gray, start on Lower Afton Road, which connects into Battle Creek Regional Park, which is our kind of western terminus, and comes through Maplewood. This section, they all follow Lower Afton Road. For those who know that road well already, that it has a trail along it right now, Ramsey County built that trail to be a regional trail standard. So you can see it's very dark red, which shows, once again, our scoring system is showing that a regional trail that's already built is going to score very, very high in our process. So that really matched and validated our scoring process for this. So for the folks here in Maplewood, most interested about the Maplewood segment of this very long corridor, we really are proposing moving forward with that Lower Afton Road piece. As you exit Maplewood, however, it kind of splits. It either can go south along Century Avenue, which would connect into that golf course development, utilize that development opportunity as a way to provide a trail along that road, and then connect on Lake Road as it comes over 494. Or it would continue on Valley Creek Road and continue more straight east and go over 494 on Valley Creek Road. I'm going to stay on that north segment, which is that Valley Creek Road over 494. That's really, that option really shows continuing along Valley Creek Road. A lot of the commercial areas through Woodbury City Hall and Central Park and Library are all very close to that corridor as well. There's also Gold Line stops for regional transportation purposes that are very close to that as well. That's why, and it's also a county road facility, which helps us from a maintenance and operations standpoint as well. Then that green and blue line splits again. It either dives south or continues a little bit. The connection that dives south is along Keats Avenue, and that would connect into another Bailey Road, another county road connection. Why it dives south right there is that is, once again, an existing regional trail that's already built. So if we do want to make that connection further south, it makes sense to go along an existing regional trail there too. Staying north, that other one that now you can maybe see, it should be 3D is the segment. It kind of is a diagonal route. That's an existing trail as well. That's a trail that follows a utility corridor, specifically a pipeline utility corridor. It gives an opportunity for trail users to come off of road traffic and winds across some residential areas of Woodbury. So it doesn't follow a vehicle road. It's a trail similar to parts of the parts of the Gateway Trail where you're on a trail by yourself. You don't have a road right next to you, for example. That will then connect with a Woodbury City Park that they're developing, and eventually connect into Hudson Road. That's that road just south of 94. Now I'm kind of in that final segment on the very north of the corridor under 4A. Hudson Road is, there's a big utility corridor through that as well. It's power lines. So potential to use that corridor as well. Come off of the road, that set back from the road a little bit more, and then connect into Bellwin Conservancy. For those not familiar with Bellwin Conservancy, that's a nonprofit organization that has a lot of conservation and educational programming, and they own a lot of land in eastern Washington County, specifically in the city of Afton. Working with them, we have some opportunities to potentially go through their land and have a paved trail that would connect with a lot of that land. That land is actually outlined in green. So if you are able to look at that slide and see the green outline that in that part of the corridor, that's Bellwin Conservancy. So that's what we're really connecting into, is that Bellwin Conservancy space. And there's actually another regional trail that connects north-south along the county road that those arrows kind of connect into. So that's the kind of the north option. I'm going to actually jump all the way back to the west side of the corridor, and when I mentioned we would go, one option is to go across Lake Street, more that southern option. I'm just going to briefly walk through that. Getting across Lake Street, there's another opportunity to go south and connect to Bailey Road. That's through another utility corridor. That's that 2L segment, that's north-south. Another dark red segment, that's a utility corridor next to a power line. Once again, provides an opportunity for trail users to get off of the road traffic and still travel along trail. That would connect to an existing trail along Bailey Avenue, or Bailey, which is another county road facility, and we would travel Bailey Road all the way across Woodbury into Afton and into downtown Afton. That's the only county road facility that makes this north or this west to east connection for the most part all the way through. However, there's a lot of challenges with that one as you get closer to downtown Afton, a lot of grade challenges specifically and property impacts on that 4T section. So the next slide is going to summarize a lot of the trade-offs here. The main thing that I want to take away from this is that there was no route that screamed, this is the perfect route. Everything scores higher than everything else. It's very clear and direct. There was nothing that was obvious. So where we're at right now is working through a couple of the narrowed down options, talking with Bellwin, talking with Woodbury, talking with Afton about which of these routes they could support and move forward with. And so this provides an opportunity for, once again, for this group to weigh in at this stage as well. I'm not going to go through each of these kind of trade-offs, but this is a good way to, once again, summarize some of the points I made for each of these routes in a way that captures it within the goals, the project goals that we started with. But this might be helpful to have up if we want to have discussion or questions at the end of the presentation. So I will be coming back to that, but just to wrap up here with next steps. Moving forward, we're working on refining which of these segments we want to move forward with based on agency input. We've done a lot of these similar presentations to those other agencies as well along the corridor. Once we have a final route recommendation we feel comfortable with, we'll be kind of unveiling that at a public open house. We'll make sure that that date and time and location is shared with you all. And then once we have that, we'll be drafting the long-range plan itself and moving that plan through the approval process. During that approval process, we'd like to come back and provide a formal request for Maplewood to provide a letter of support or a resolution of support for that project to attach to that plan as it moves forward. With approval processes, we have to go through our own county board, and then it also goes through the Metropolitan Council as well. With that, myself and Andrea are appreciative of the Commission's time today and are happy to answer any questions.
Will there be any more community engagements? And if so, is there a way that we could also be notified when those are?
Yeah, Chair, Commissioner, thank you for that question. Yes, when we have a route recommendation, we'll go and do a public open house. We'll make sure we share those invites and details with Audra and staff. They've done a good job sharing those out to not only your social media, spreading it to the general public, but for you all in the City Council as well. As part of that public open house, we do have an interactive web page that goes up and goes live as well. So folks not able to attend the open house will be able to provide comments virtually as well.
And is the webpage on Washington County? Or?
Yes, yeah. We can share that link to the project webpage as well.
Okay.
I had a general question. So I know that the starting point is Battle Creek, but is it just is the goal of the project to just do to connect it to one place in Afton specifically? Because it looks like there's two good options with like the north part of Afton and the south part of Afton. So I just didn't know if that was one was preferred over the other in terms of the final destination in Afton?
Yeah, Chair, Commissioner, thank you for that question. That, where the east terminus is by policy is set as the St. Croix River.
Okay.
And that means that could be at the northern part of our corridor that gets you really close to the river, or the southern part of the corridor. We hoped during our engagement process that we would get some consensus on, do folks want to end in Bellwyn Conservancy, or is it really important for them to end in downtown Afton or somewhere in between? And we heard no consensus. Some folks really thought it would be really cool to connect into Bellwyn, others wanted to be in downtown Afton, others wanted to be in between. So it does gives us flexibility, but it did not help in us narrowing down the options. So one of our key milestones going forward that may help determine which of these gets the final recommendation is working with both Bellwyn and Afton on narrowing that down.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
As part of your evaluation, are you able to gauge like how many people might use the trail if it's this north one or the south one? Are you able to evaluate that at all?
Chair, Commissioner, we do have a couple of different metrics that we look at. They're not perfect, they're imperfect. One thing we will look at is just general population and population growth along the corridor. One thing that data shows is that people use trails that are closest to them. And so if we have a trail located next to population that's existing or population that's expected to grow, we feel like it'll get more visitation than visits that are in more rural parts of the county or very low density, projected low density parts of the county. So that's one thing we'll look at. The other thing we're really looking at is trail experience. We know that people will go out of their way to travel on a path that is more desirable. And so I would argue most of our 53 performance measures that we went at, we're trying to get at how can this trail be a high quality trail. Things like destinations it connects to, jobs it connects to, is it separated from a vehicle trail, is it easy to cross busy intersections, those types of comparable things. So we're trying to get to that question, but not with one metrics, with many metrics.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
Connor, one thing I remember from the last meeting we had, but I just wanted to have you touch on it because I might not remember it right, but if the South Trail was the one, the difficulty you said was getting closer to Afton because of some of the properties and grading things, but was also one of the appeals that it was a more natural or an undeveloped area where there could be future developments, and so it might be easier in the initial part going east to west, or can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, Chair, Commissioners, the south segment with Afton, that's a county road, and that means that the county has right-of-way or jurisdiction to improve that road. Several years, well, not several years, like 20 years ago or so, we did look at putting a trail as part of a road improvement project that went through that. At that time, a trail was not supported due to some of the property impacts. But talking with their council, which we did a similar presentation that you guys heard today with their council, they're more open in the future about what that corridor could look like. So something that we are looking at is where there's future road improvement projects or future development in Woodbury or parts of Afton that could help complement or help us build and implement this trail. But that segment, as I previously mentioned, does have quite a bit of challenges because it's a very, very old road. So people have mailboxes all the way into the right of way, and in some cases even structures and things like that. So that would be one of the trade-offs with that southern option. But the nice connection right into downtown Afton is a big benefit as well.
Thank you.
If nobody has any more questions, I will say thank you very much. We appreciate the presentation.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
We will now move on to the second agenda item under new business, 2026 Parks and Rec Commission goal setting.
Okay, thanks, Chair, members of the commission. It is already that time, setting goals for 2026. Feels like we just got done, right?
What the?
And I did include just the wrap-up from our annual report with the goals that we set for this year, and I will put them up on the screen here. Just give me one second. All right, let's see. And so I thought, just to get us going and in the thought, I thought I would read over your goals that you set for last year. That you had 8 of them, and I know we had condensed them down to make, I think you made a really concerted effort last year to maybe not have as many goals, but just to make sure they were goals that were measurable and attainable, and I think you did a really good job with that, so we'll just review those briefly here. The first goal was review and offer recommendations on park improvement plans identified in Maplewood's 2025 CIP plan. Goal number 2 was continue to look for new ways to engage in community outreach and be involved in 4 community events. Number 3 was take a bus tour of our park system. 4 was hold a meeting to discuss connectivity and trails with neighboring cities in Ramsey County. And we just started off our January meeting with that meeting. Hold a meeting dedicated to review the implementation progress of the Nature Center and Programming Task Force recommendations and receive regular updates. Value the youth perspective and recruit, appoint student PRC members. Receive annual updates from the MCC YMCA as well as updates from community groups and partners to look for ways to work together. And then review and evaluate the current and future signage as part of park projects and redevelopment. So those were the 8 goals from last year. And I think, just in reviewing these, we actually accomplished most of your goals. I think it was a really busy, productive year for the Parks Commission. The one goal that we haven't got to, number 8, that actually is overlapping a little bit. I will be coming, hopefully at the February meeting, we can get staff to come to talk about some interpretive signage that we're working on with the watershed. I think I've alluded to it before the meeting, but for the most part, I don't know if you want to have discussion on what went well with these goals and start from there, or you also have the opportunity to always to start from scratch if you feel like, we want to veer off into a whole new direction. It's really up to the commission. And student commissioners, please chime in if there's things that you would like to see as goals. We'd love to hear from you. And then I am going to just briefly touch on, because we always like to have these goals reflect the strategic priorities of our council. And they did go through a process of reevaluating those strategic priorities and the strategic plan for the city. So I'm just going to put this up here. You don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but it was narrowed down, but also has a lot more information. But they have basically 3 main areas that the strategic plan centers around, and it's safety, sustainability, and development. And under safety, it was enhancing community well-being through proactive systems and infrastructure, and there are 7 different ways in which they've highlighted that can be accomplished. Under sustainability, it's building long-term resilience and organizational strength. And under development, shaping a thriving, inclusive, and forward-looking community. And so I'll give you a second just to take a look at those. So that's just something to keep in the back of your mind. It's just a way to align with the council's strategic plan. And then the how of how we do that is being a high-performance organization as the City of Maplewood, being engaged and informed in our decision-making, and making sure that we practice financial stewardship. So with that, just in the back of our minds, I can pull up our goals from last year again. And this process can really, again, be however the commission feels comfortable. If you want to just kind of take turns with ideas, or if we want to go line by line, open. It's really kind of your process, and I'm here to help guide and make sure I take good notes. And then, we'll take a stab at it at this meeting. And usually, what we do is we bring them back again to the February meeting then, and make sure that if there are any, the way it's written, I write them up, and you get to review them, and then we can make some final tweaks before we hopefully get to a point where we feel comfortable adopting them at the February meeting. So,
Did we do much with number 7 this year? Maybe I missed that meeting.
Actually, we did have a lot of different groups coming in and talking.
But with the YMCA?
Yeah.
Okay.
But-
Okay.
Alex, I think is his name.
Yeah,
Okay.
The Y came, and we had other groups, and we made an effort to have guest speakers come in and talk about things. But again, there is a new community center executive director. His name is Ryan, and he's fairly new, but he's been here long enough. So the plan would be, even if it isn't one of the goals, but is to come and talk to the commission about what's happening with the Y. And they've been having meetings with the city council
Would it
as
be
well.
possible, I wonder if we, with the Y, if we actually got to go there and see what, we haven't been there to see what's new or how things are running? Yeah,
Chair, members of the commission, yep, that's something we could do, it not maybe in place of a meeting, but we
Right.
could organize just a
just
field
a
trip. that for-
walkthrough to just
for-
kind of see. It's
For
been,
commissioners
yeah.
that would want to go and, sure,
Yeah.
let me make a note.
Should we do it instead of the bus tour? Have we gone to all of the parks in the last 2 years, or is there still some that we haven't hit with our bus tour?
Personally, I would be in favor of continuing the bus
Bus
tour.
tour.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I
I don't
think-
want to get rid of it.
Yeah, I think we do different parks and ones that we're working on
Yeah.
each year. It's kind of good to see if things need to be improved or broken or whatever, and then we can actually see what we've accomplished.
Yeah. that
Sure,
makes
Chair,
sense.
members of the commission, we can always arrange for a time where where someone from the Y, if I can work it out, where they'd be able to take a tour and then leave it open to commissioners to come, and we could do it. Doesn't have to be in place of a meeting, but it could be an additional field trip that we could set up for those of you that would want to be able to come.
I'd be interested to see
Yes, I
it.
can look into that and get back to the commission.
We should make that an official goal, I think,
Okay.
if everybody else is okay with that.
Yeah.
Visit the YMCA and get a tour from their director. I think we could probably just go line by line, and then if anybody has any extra ones they would like to add, that would obviously be entertained. So we could just start with number 1, review and offer recommendations on park improvement plans identified in the 2025 CIP plan.
I think we keep that one.
Yep, I think so too.
And then just update it to 2026?
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Continue to look for new ways to engage in community outreach and be involved in 4 community events. I mean, I think that's,
Should we word it each, it almost makes it sound like 4 community events as a whole, and maybe we wanted each commissioner to do 4 events, didn't we? Or was it just 4 events?
I'm trying to remember back. I think it was just, it used to say be involved in events, and
Have a
then I think it had
presence.
been 2, and then the commission felt strongly about increasing it to 4. So then we just settled on that number of 4.
Okay.
and I think 4 is still a good number.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a significant amount of engagement, but it's not too much to where people might feel burnt out. So I like the 4 number, we could keep
Yeah.
that. Take a bus tour, I think we should keep that one. Number 4, hold a meeting to discuss connectivity and trails with neighboring cities and Ramsey County. What did we mean by hold a meeting to?
Yeah, Chair, members of the commission, that was a former Parks Commissioner Craig Brandon. That was a goal that was very specific, that he felt strongly about, and it was worded that way. But, overall, it's kind of turned into, we did have that conversation with Ramsey County, but as you saw with Washington County, with this regional trail, I think there could be a lot of different partners, but connectivity is really important to see how things fit. Like they talked about, this trail we just heard about has the potential of being another asset for the Century Ponds development, the way it's coming in. So just figuring out how we fit in with our neighboring communities, and how we can better improve connectivity across was kind of the goal, the point of the goal. So it doesn't have to be this specific saying, that's why it said neighboring cities in Ramsey County, but it could be with our neighboring cities, or it could be with partners, or it could be however you'd want to put it, or it doesn't have to be just a specific meeting. So that would be one that,
I think we should reword, because the way it sounds like we need to schedule a separate meeting with other partners involved, and I'm not sure we need to go that far. But I do think it's an important goal to maintain.
I'm looking at our goals though too, and I think they kind of fall into 2 buckets. One is staying informed. So like a bunch of these things that we have on here, which I do think that we should keep, is just being informed. And then another chunk is engagement, I think. So maybe if we could group them in that way, then we can kind of have a goal higher up, which is stay informed or stay
So
engaged.
2 groups of goals is what you're,
Yeah, or
maybe
maybe there's other groups too, but that's what's popping out to me right now.
sure.
Well, you could make one goal that's like stay informed and then basically like, what is it? Like, just like a bullet point list of like,
Okay.
these are the groups we want to stay informed with
Or
over
these are the
year.
topics or.
Mhm.
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. I would be in favor of that,
So like the connectivity with the trails, stay informed
right?
with the connectivity of the trails with neighboring cities.
Number 5, number 7, I think all of those might fall into that.
So, all right, so I think the idea is that we categorize our goals into at least 2 lists, potentially more, but right now at least 2 lists.
Yeah.
And
One would
staying
be
informed and
stay
being,
informed,
staying,
and the other one would
engaged.
be engagement, which is actual physical activity that we would do.
I don't know what number 1 would fall under. Maybe that's a new one.
Would that be staying informed, maybe?
Well, that, and it is interesting, because as a commission, there's only, not that it's not just that, but there's so much that you can do as a commission, and honestly, number 1 is one of the main things that this commission does, is if, we want to implement projects and things in the CIP, we're looking to the commission to offer their review and their recommendation before it goes to council, so that's something that you actively do that's really task to this commission to do, so it's not really engagement, you're right, it's not engagement, it's not being informed, but it's the important function of this commission to move projects and things forward that we do in our own system, so.
So it's not so much a goal as it is a central tenet of kind of who we are as a
Right.
commission. It's something that can really never be removed.
Right,
Yeah.
correct.
Is it even a goal then?
No, that's what I'm kind of getting at. I don't think it's a goal. I think it's just kind of who we are and what we do, and it's almost implied that, yeah. So I don't think we need to have it as a goal, because it's never going to go anywhere. Even if we want it to, it's still going to be there.
Audra's going
And-
to be asking for recommendations for
Right,
that
exactly.
every year, so it's like.
So we can take that off the goals list, because it's
Number 1
just,
off?
Yeah,
it's just what we are.
sure.
And we could just maybe change the numbering so that you have the engagement and the ones to be informed,
Right.
Put the
So we could have
informed
2 number 1s,
Yeah.
so to speak, yeah. So I think number 2 goes under engagement, number 3 would be engagement. How do we want to reword number 4? That would be under stay informed.
just hold a meeting to just stay informed.
Stay informed about connectivity and trails with neighboring cities?
One thought I had on this one, because same with me, is way to include the connectivity, but also other things. Stay informed of projects in neighboring cities or whatever that affect Maplewood. Just
Yep.
all the things that they do, like if they're doing, like the improvements at Battle Creek Regional Park, those are all things that,
Right.
We can stay
Invite them to a
informed
meeting
about-
to present like we had tonight. That'd be great.
and we maybe say stay informed. I'll work on that, tweak it a little bit, make sure it spells out, including connectivity, trails, park improvements, new facilities like the Tulu courts, or, things like that, but just making sure that we're not just focusing on what the city of Maplewood's doing, but the surrounding areas as well. That's a form of connectivity, right? Because it's all of our neighbors. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Saham, Rory, do you have any thoughts on?
I just had a question about number 6. If I or any of my other youth members, not saying that we're gonna just drop out, how have we been advertising the spots in the past? And could we use that to advertise better in the future?
Sure, good point. Chair, members of the commission, that was something that we've gone through our communications department to kind of lead the charge on doing that, and then involving members of the commission. So if you have, we've talked, I think, when you first came on board, of ways to do that better, but that's something already probably in March is when we're going to have to start the recruiting process for next year. So looking for how to do that. So maybe tweak that one, instead of just recruit, appoint student members, could add something about with help of current
Yeah,
student
that's actually
commissioners,
a really
or
good-
going to the schools, or how would you add to that goal?
I wanted to know if it was possible if we could go to like the schools, also like for the goal to like engaging with community, if we could like I guess like educate more people like just about like the just I don't know like the right word for it, but to like just get people wanting to know to do more for like the environment and stuff. And that would also be like a nice way we could also advertise this to the schools too and the students.
Okay.
Remember we did those videos with the student talking about how, what they got
Communications,
out of it? Did we use that as a recruiting tool for the next group, or could we?
We did on social media, I believe, Joe.
Okay. I
pushed
wonder
that
if we
out.
could maybe like show those videos in
Sure.
school to some groups, because that was really worthwhile information, because it was, you know, part of their student body and talking about what they got out of it.
Right.
I thought another way that would be good to advertise is North, at least. We have like activity fairs during our win time where we talk about activities during school and after school. And maybe we could send some people to go and advertise during those fairs.
Sure.
We have them at North. I don't
It'd be a
know
really
if
good
they have
idea.
them at
Set up a
Taunton.
table and promote.
Do it like at random times. It's never really the same time every year.
Okay.
But they have.
It would be great if you could, since we aren't aware of when those are, if you could let us know when those are, and we could even work with the contacts in the schools to set that up, and maybe have our student commissioners be ambassadors and be there or with us, that'd be great.
And that would also fit into number 2.
So do we want to, those are all great points, do we want to change the way number 6 is worded to reflect that, or do you still like it the way it's written, but just make sure that we know what that actually means?
Explore new opportunities to recruit / appoint.
Yeah, I like that. Instead of value the youth perspective, we've done that now but that's
Right.
good. So explore,
New opportunities to recruit, appoint student PRC members.
And then I remember, I think it was this past year, there was like some talks about like how to make it, the information available to both high schools kind of more equitably. Did we address that?
Joe, our communications manager, reached out to both high schools. He just had more inroads with one than the other. It doesn't mean that he can't, but I'm not really sure how that worked, but just got more response back and support from one to make it a little bit easier. So that's something we definitely you'll still be trying to do.
We also talked about.
Maybe Siham, you could have us get a better connection at Tartan.
We had a new activities director, so we could advertise it, and I feel like we would have a better it would be better this time. Also, they do put on the morning announcements every day like activities students can do, and also you can do videos of like new clubs and just send them to a teacher and they
Okay.
can put it on there for you.
Awesome.
I know in the past, we also, I think it was Kimmy, talked about engaging the homeschool community. Did we ever get any contacts there, or?
Again, I have to reach out to Joe. I know that
Okay.
he has a list of, I don't have a list of, now that we haven't been actively doing programming, I'm not
Right.
as connected to the homeschool connections, but that's definitely something that, I'll mention to Joe about seeing if we
Okay.
can get some
Sounds good.
inroads there.
Where are we at here?
So we changed number 6 to explore new opportunities to recruit, appoint student PRC members.
I think we might have skipped over 5. Hold a meeting dedicated to review the implementation progress of the Nature Center and Programming Task Force.
Would that fall in the inform bucket?
Yeah,
I had put an E by there, yeah.
and I don't know if we need a separate meeting just for that, but we could invite someone from that group to a meeting, which I think we've
Yeah,
done in
and
the
that's
past.
usually, it's been
Yeah.
Neil Brenneman, has usually come in the past, so not just a separate meeting all to itself, but the meeting, maybe just receive updates instead of hold a meeting just for that,
Yeah.
reword it to say, receive annual updates, just
Yeah,
like we do for the,
receive
number
annual
7.
update. Yep.
Is it specific to this task force still though, or is it just programming updates that we get from Neil?
yeah, he gives those and what we've done as a result of those, because those were the recommendations of what to do. So anything that we've made inroads in on those recommendations, that list, that's what he comes and speaks to. And a lot of them is having the 4-H or creating the website where people can, or setting up and working with Oakdale Athletic Association to offer this sport here, or it's all part of that, but we just take those recommendations that came out of those meetings. It's been a long time since we
Yeah.
implemented those, but they
That's why I'm
were,
wondering if they are still applicable, because I was part of one of those task force, and I feel like our recommendations were like 5 years or something. So I don't know, has it been that long?
yeah, some of them were, well, they were short-term, midterm, and long-term goals.
Okay.
And yeah, we're already going on year 6 since
Yeah,
since
so I'm
this
just
happened.
wondering if those recommendations are still applicable, or if it's kind of beyond what that task force was recommending.
Yeah, that's a good
But I don't know.
question. Yeah, that's a very good question.
6, we already talked about. 7, we talked about.
Well, if I
Yeah,
may,
go ahead.
Chair, what we could do, instead of calling it out, even though we know that it is based on those recommendations to give the updates, it could just be receive departmental updates on environmental and other programming, in that way. So like when Caitlin comes and did her update,
Make
if
it
Sean comes
generalized.
and talks about environmental initiatives or talks about, the climate mitigation plan, or, Neil comes and talks about what's going on at the Wakefield Community Building, Edgerton, it could be something that encompasses those updates.
Right.
I
That's
guess
good.
yeah.
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, I guess I still am really interested, though, in what came from that task force, even though I was just like questioning that whole thing. Because, it drastically changed our programming in the city of Maplewood. And so I do still want to keep an eye on how those changes are doing us better or worse.
Okay.
So I don't know if it has to be tied to that. I don't know how to say that, though. You guys know what I mean?
Well, maybe we could make it 2 goals. What Audra just said, and then also specifically,
Review the relevancy of the task force, recommendations?
review the outcome, the findings of the program. I don't know what words to use here.
I know, me too. But I just want to make sure that we have.
Receive an update from the programming task force.
Yeah, that we're keeping an eye on it,
Yeah.
because,
Sure. Yeah, Chair, members of the commission, the task force doesn't exist any longer. It was a brief period of time, a very intensive period where there were meetings twice a week, and they got to the point of making these recommendations, and then once they were made, they were formalized that these were the recommendations. There were some for the Nature Center, and then there were some for the programming group. And so this was just a way to let you know where things are at from those.
Yeah.
These were recommendations from that task force of, well, this is something you could do in, short term, midterm, long term. And we just want to make sure we're not forgetting about the task force all the time that was put into it. Like you said, it's been a few years, move away. We just want to make sure that we keep it on here as long as the city council, whoever would like us to, and making sure we update where we're at with what those recommendations were. They weren't definite promises that these things will happen because the group wanted it, but these were recommendations of what they would like to see. Say, for instance, there was, in the Nature Center, there was bringing a naturalist back. Well, that hasn't happened yet, but it was a recommendation, so we haven't forgotten about it. It's there, but feasibility-wise, will that happen? So I agree what Vicky's saying. It's been a while, but they were important. It was important work that they did when they made this big change to the department, so we wanted to make sure we're still working on those recommendations and still doing things, so it's up to the commission if you want us to give you those updates.
Yes.
And make sure it's a goal to receive those updates.
I have potential goal language. So let's say review programming task force recommendations and discuss implementation.
Yeah.
Does that sound okay?
Good. Okay, say that again?
Review programming task force recommendations and discuss implementation, period.
Okay. Yeah, that makes it a broader
Yeah.
goal, and how we tackle it, it gives us a little more leeway in how to do it.
Have some things been implemented? Are there plans for things to be implemented?
Sure.
I honestly, I don't remember fully what all of the recommendations were, so I would like an update on just a refresher.
Sure.
So, okay, we can make that a separate goal,
Sure.
I think.
And you don't, and I'm just saying, you wouldn't have to make it 2 goals then to have us do updates for the department, because we
Right.
will, that can go under even having, receive annual updates from the MCC as well as other groups. It could just,
Yeah.
make sure that we have a point of a natural resources update and a programming update from Neil, that if you want to make it a goal, great, but that's something we can still make sure to work in, so.
I think we should make it a separate goal so it doesn't fall by the wayside,
Okay.
because it seemed like it was important to some. So let's have it be a separate thing, and we'll get an update at a meeting in the future and call it good.
So keep number 7 the way it is?
Yeah, or if.
No, change the language to whatever you said before we talked about.
Receive regular departmental updates on.
I don't think we need it to say MCC, YMCA. I think we can be more generalized with, as far as like, any annual updates from,
From community groups and partners, as well as, do you want me to specifically call out Parks and Natural Resources Division, or
I
just
mean,
leave
we
it
we can do
receiving
that.
it?
I mean, if we,
Does anyone else have a thought on that?
I think we should keep the YMCA,
Okay.
MCC in there, just because I'm afraid it's going to slip out.
right.
And we want to do the tour with them. And I was just remembering, we used to do a tour with them.
Oh, yeah?
Back when Ron worked there. That was a long time ago.
Okay,
But I remember going into the pool area, and they were showing us where they were going to put the sauna. And I'm like, we never did get the sauna.
Aw.
Yeah, so now I do remember, we used to do a tour there. We did.
Maybe we can make a statement that's kind of general, but then we can do parentheses, example, YMCA or whatnot
Yeah.
for the group.
Sure. I think the reason you called out the MCC YMCA was just because it's the Maplewood Community Center.
Yes.
We're not overseeing it, so you wanted to make sure that you were getting updates from what's happening in that building that's still a part of the city. So that
Yes.
was why the group had wanted to specifically say updates.
Yeah,
And
we
that
can-
wouldn't exclude the tour.
Yeah,
It's
Right.
just,
So
but,
then we could leave 7 as is.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Review and evaluate the current and future signage as part of park projects and redevelopment. I
And
feel
you-
like we've talked about this a lot, and it just keeps
well, you
kinda
had
slipping.
you
Yeah.
had changed it to this, which was better than before. It was just discuss it. And this
Well, right.
this was just like whenever there is new signage in the system, to review and evaluate current and future signage. And I think that's a pretty strong ongoing goal, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Okay.
I mean, again, it kind of is like number 1, where it's something that we're going to do anyway, but this calls it out to make sure that you have a say in it, able to review what the signage is going to look like. And like I said, the first thing that we'll be bringing to you is this interpretive signage that's out at the Nature Center that we got with this grant with the watershed, and just so you have some say in what it looks like, so. If there was any goal here that I would just,
Keep that.
for what it's worth saying, I think that was a good goal that you tweaked pretty well last year, but
Yeah, let's keep that one. I'm still interested in signage.
Same.
and say for with Harvest, when we get to the signage for the new bike skills course, or like what the Harvest Park sign will look like, or any other development, this would be, just making sure that the group gets to have some say in what it would look like. Anything else that you feel
Well,
is?
what do we, I'm trying to think of the way to word it. What do we think about a goal that says to receive information on any city council-specific parks topics that are discussed? Because I don't make it to every city council meeting, and they may talk about something park-related, and I may
Parks-
miss
parks and-
it.
If we say that, I say we add and trails.
Yeah, that's great, Parks and Trails. So
Be-
if something's
Be
discussed at a city
informed.
council level, it could maybe come to us at our next meeting, and just, the city council talked about this at their last meeting.
Keeping informed of any parks or trail.
Do they talk about things that we haven't already talked about?
I'm sure it's happened, but usually what happens is it would come to the commission first before it goes to council. But if there's something that would impact parks, budget-wise or whatever, I mean, like, I could update the group, but you also could get the update from the council meetings too.
Right.
So I don't know if that's a
I mean, maybe it's a
goal.
crummy goal, I don't know.
Usually, ideally, what we want to do is have you get first size, just like this Battle Creek, like the regional trail
Yeah.
here.
See it
They're coming
before.
to you first. The next step is them potentially going to a council workshop.
Yeah.
But they came to us first, so we try to do it where you get to hear about it and give your feedback, and then it goes, or even like the pond, Century Ponds, like playground things, we're working that out first before it ever gets to council to look at,
Yeah.
because they're looking to you for your recommendations and your thoughts on it, because it does speak to, council. They want to hear what you have to say, so we try to do it that way. Things,
makes
I'm
sense.
sure things have come up that maybe aren't perfect, but that's the goal anyway, for things that'll happen in the park, that we would come to you. I know, are you thinking of maybe like Rush Line or something where it was a little bit different?
Yeah, maybe, that was
Yeah.
kind of something I was thinking of.
Sure.
I do
Like-
think though, yeah, sometimes maybe decisions are made that I don't read up on, that maybe we already discussed it and there was a decision made at council. We just,
Right.
you know.
Maybe track relevant topics from city council meetings. I don't know. It could be under our inform bucket, just.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, let's think about it. Like I said, that's why we do this over 2 meetings,
Right.
We get a good start on it, and then you can think about, and then we can, I'll make a note about that, a council goal, just to what that might look like.
Okay.
It'll take a little time to think about that. And then we can revisit it.
Any other new goals? I feel like we've had the same ones for,
Something
not that they're not important, they are, but
Yeah, something that popped up under that other document that you showed was sustainability.
Oh,
Yes.
here, let me,
We don't have anything about that. I don't know what we would have, but that kind of stood out to me in this.
we should try to come up with a goal that fits, at least one goal that fits into each of these, since this is what the council has determined that they want to focus on.
yeah, well, what I was thinking of, this was just a thought, but you tell me how you'd want to do it, is I wanted to share this as we're starting this, but then once I tweak the goals and get them written down, then have this, and I'll include this in your packet next time too. And then we can go across and figure out where it fits in, because it would be nice to tie the goals we have, like say, the engaged community outreach and be involved, let's pick number 2.
Yeah.
That would fit under, let's see.
Development.
Development,
Yeah.
because it'd be shaping a thriving, inclusive, forward-looking community, and it would be invest in people and placemaking, strengthening human connection and growth. So right away, that goal ties right into the strategic plan of development. So we could go through that exercise in February of tweaking the goals and then figuring out how they tie. And maybe after you think about it some more, and we could even mention that in the goals if you wanted to, like for the annual report, we could put in which goal we tied to which part of the strategic plan.
More generally, we don't have to do it this year, but I was almost wondering if, like, generally we should, like, take on a theme for the year, and it would be, like, we would pick a theme from here. So I think we could do one-to-one goals from this, or we could just take one and it'd be like, okay, let's look at all of our goals from this one goals perspective. Like, for example, under sustainability, there's the cultivate a connected, engaged community, which I think is the point of parks and natural resources. So I would think that would be like a very, a theme or a goal, overarching goal that would make sense for us.
I like that.
And Vicky, what were you saying? I pulled this up because you were,
I said the word sustainability stood out to me, but I don't feel like we have any of that in our goals, and I don't have any ideas for that.
It would
but-
be nice to come up with one, though, I agree.
Yeah.
sure.
Maybe look for sustainability, community, like, partners. Like, maybe that could be our goal, is to find, like, more partners in that specific area.
Well,
to
Chair,
engage
members
with.
of the commission, I will say, is it, Jason, I think you would be the one going to our, I don't know if you are, but, you know, with the climate mitigation, now that we're circling back to that, and there's a meeting tomorrow night with that, and we had, you know, key members from the Park Commission involved in that the climate mitigation plan, that speaks right to the sustainability, you know, having someone on that task force or committee that we had, you know, we're putting the, looking to put the solar panels on the Wakefield building this year. You know, we had talked about that earlier, and that will, you know, getting a grant for that.
Yeah, even if it's just being informed about something like that, I think that could
Yep.
that could work too.
So I think some of this we're doing, which maybe haven't put a name to it, but, you know, there was, I think, was I wrong, Jason? Was it you and Craig were the two, or was I wrong? Was it?
I'm,
Greg was.
Craig was, and then we
it's
had,
not ringing a bell to me
I think
right
you
now,
might have
but
been
if
the
it's tomorrow
alternate,
night
so-
and I need to be there.
Craig, well, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I did not plan to be anywhere tomorrow night, but now I may have to be.
Okay. Okay.
Voluntold.
I'm
Or
looking
maybe
to
it
see
was
if I.
one of our commission members who are not with us anymore though too. Maybe who left the board. I
I'm
can't
Gonna look
remember
at my
who, I
email
can't
and
remember
see
who
if
the
I-
second person
The
was.
one, oh. He moved away.
Mark, it was Mark.
Yeah, Mark, I bet.
Mark.
I bet it was Mark.
Right.
I bet it was Mark.
So there could
Because
be
he
the-
was our chair at the time.
Yes.
Mark
Yep,
and
he was
Craig.
our chair
Mark
at the
and
time.
Craig.
So that would have made sense. No,
I'll
I
ta-
don't think I was ever locked
okay.
into that.
I'll talk with you after the meeting, Jason,
Okay.
and let you know.
Is
so-
it an in-person meeting?
It is.
Here?
I'll talk to you after the
Okay,
meeting.
we
Yep.
can talk later. Yeah, we don't need to take time. Yeah. all right.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and again, it could even be something like, it could be, it's a lot of the box, but, you know, we have in the past, one time, we did have a joint meeting with the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission, if you were ever interested in having a joint meeting with the ENR, so the two of you could, you know,
Maybe
it's just a thought.
Maybe that's our goal, is to collaborate, do a meeting to collaborate with them
Okay.
this year.
I don't, if you can.
Maybe we can think about it for
Yeah.
the next meeting.
Yep. I know, it's just a lot of different thoughts, but.
Yeah.
I
Brainstorm.
just wanted to say something for like sustainability. It says like building, like keeping like a cultivated, engaged community. One thing I was wondering if we could do would be partnering with some like school clubs, because I know like NHS, for example, most of the time I know like a ton of my friends in there, they don't have any like volunteer opportunities. And one thing like we could do would be like picking up trash for hours and then posting them. Another club I know is BPA. We don't do it for hours, but we basically get like torch points from if we do any environmental friendly stuff. So even creating posters or picking up trash is stuff that they
Okay.
do.
Awesome.
And yeah, some things I was wondering if we could do.
That would be great.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Yeah, that could even be something like that for, maybe not even Arbor Day, but just, you know, we could, you know, organize a park cleanup or something that the commission did. I mean, yeah, like, think about it. But if you wouldn't mind, Siham, if you, sorry, I said that wrong. If you would maybe want to bring some of that information for the group for our February meeting, just with, that you could share with them, just actual connections, or even email me, and then we can talk about it. That would be great.
Yeah.
I had a question about development. I was wondering if we had any goals in the past about overarching feedback from the community, such as like, what's the word? Not a document, not a forum, no. A survey, like even online or like a mail-in.
Yeah, sure.
And if we find any overarching themes of, we would like to see this in our parks or
Sure.
on our trails.
Yeah,
that
sure.
we focus on that maybe?
Yeah, Chair, members of the commission, the city does community surveys, and they don't do them every year. I think it's every 2 years, and they do put questions in there about parks and, how you rate the parks and that. And I think they've been online. It might have been mail-in too, but I know they're always looking to do community surveys like that. And so, for sure, it's important. And as we enter the park systems master planning process sooner than later, that was a big part of that, but there will be a big community engagement piece there as far as survey of what do people want to see in the future of parks in the next 20 years. That'll be part of the new comp plan as well, so absolutely. All right, we got a lot of good things to think about. So I will, if you feel like this is a good place to stop for today, I will take what you told me. I'll get it typed up, put it out there, and then we can continue to work on these at our February meeting.
Sounds good.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, we are on to letter F, unfinished business, ponds development park concept.
Yeah, okay, Chair, members of the commission. So, as you know, we have the Century Ponds development is happening now. They're working to pull that together and have it become a reality. We're still in the planning and the feasibilities, part of what this park might look like. And I just brought what I shared at the last meeting, just to give you a little review of it, because it's been a couple months now since we've done this. And let's see. I won't go through all the details, but I wanted to bring up the picture. If I could have the computer. This was just the high-level concept of that our consultants put together of what the park might look like, and you all were able to review that and give your thoughts on what it looked like. So I just wanted to share what we had presented to you, where it was, spread out area. There was a half-court basketball court. There were 6 parking stalls at the end of the cul-de-sac. There was a picnic shelter, a gathering space. There were spread out play equipment for the 2 to 5-year-olds and then the 5 to 12-year-olds. There were walking trails. There was a little seating area, which is letter I there. And then there was a slide built into the hill that's right up against the trail there. And so I just wanted to refresh everybody's memory of this is what we had shown. And then it's a little bit different. This is a new process for us where we're not planning everything in the park and leading the playground design. We're working with the developers, D.R. Horton, and we gave this to them and kind of our wish list of what we're thinking, what this park might look like, and they would come back with their playground, whoever they enlist for their playground and provide concepts. We'd give feedback on what we like, what we don't, and they'll, move forward. And where we're at in the process is it's a little more slow moving because this is a big development. They have a lot of moving parts, but the park, we want to make sure we don't leave that to the end and then it's all of a sudden, hey, wait a minute. So we are just in the beginning stages of it, but I wanted to keep having discussions, and what they asked us to do at the last meeting we had was to kind of hone in on what kind of play equipment, because that's kind of the big question, right? They could do so many different things. So what would this play equipment look like? Something that's reasonable, that would fit the idea of what we had. And so they did send over from 3 different playground companies, and they aren't ones that we picked. It's the developers presented these to us, and they just sent us pictures of playground equipment, just the equipment itself, not the basketball court or the trails or anything. That's not what we're focusing on now. But they want to get a better feel of, are they going in the right direction with the playground equipment? Is this something that we like? Do we hate it? They just want to get some feedback from the park commission. So I printed it up for you, but I also showed they have some playground just equipment. The 2 to 5 and 5 to 12-year-old equipment in the swings is what we're kind of focusing on in this, because they just want to get your feedback from St. Croix, Recreation, Midwest, and then from Finnegan. So in no particular order, I'm just going to pull these up, and then you can look on your handouts in front of you too.
because they just want to know if, and if you remember, it was, the thought was to have a little bit more natural play equipment that kind of fit into this area, because there's going to be a lot of open space and wetlands and just how this fits in, but it's also a housing community with, and you want it to have play value, so this concept from St. Croix Recreation, this is, like I said, it's just the play equipment, and try to ignore what's wood fiber, what's poured in place, because that can all change. They just had to give us something with the equipment. But we can always have those discussions about where we want, the poured in place to go, and that's why I showed you the original plan, where it showed it under the key areas of the play equipment, under the slide, all of the swings, under the slides, under key pieces of equipment. So it may not look like this in these companies' design. What I'd like you to focus on is the actual play equipment itself. So this was from St. Croix Recreation. And so you can see they have this up in the top left corner. That is to represent the hill area with the slide, and they actually added 2 additional pieces of play equipment, so it's not just a slide. And then they have the play container here for, or the play equipment for the older children. They do have an accessible merry-go-round there. In this concept, they have some freestanding crawling logs to fit that nature theme. And then they have the smaller equipment for the 2 to 5-year-olds that have slides and tunnels, and there's some shade built in because they have the covered towers. And then they have the swing bay that we asked for that has the 3 bays with 2 swings of each kind. And like I said, you can see the port in places just under the handicap accessible swings, but we had said we wanted under all of them, so just try to imagine that it's under all, under the swings, or some kind of mats under there. And then this is another angle of it where you can see. So it has that nature theme, but it is kind of your standard, the 2 separate areas of play with the slides and the monkey bars. And like I said, they have the accessible merry-go-round there. And this is just a close-up of they were showing us the slide built in. They have a double slide that they show. It has a platform behind it. It's a little tough to see. They have the spinner, and then they have those climbing features. All right, so that is one. And hang on here. And this next is from Midwest. And I just got these, so they're hot off the press, so bear with me while I get them loaded up. This one is from Midwest Playscapes. And they have the full swing bay there. They also have the nature-themed play equipment. Their area with the slide is actually quite similar. It's a double slide, and it has the 2 additional pieces of equipment. They have a few more angles for you to look at, so I'll kind of scroll through these so you can see. And try to ignore the landscaping in the back, because while those trees are pretty back there, the trees aren't what we're, that's just something that their artist, drawings put in. So just try to focus on the actual equipment itself. And there's another one so you've got the climbing bars, you've got some of the balance features there. You've got the slides. There's some freeform rock features. Again, try to ignore the landscape. And this again also has the nature theme, like the log that you can crawl through or sit on. They've got quite a few slides on the larger deck there. And then they've got a smaller version of it for the 2 to 5-year-olds. They actually put the picnic shelter, the plan in there, but we're not focusing on that right now. They were just asked to focus on the playground equipment for the moment.
Is this stuff that looks like wood actual wood, Audra? Do you
No,
know, or
it's
is it
composite.
wood
Yeah.
plastic? Okay.
Yep. Much more durable. And it won't splinter. And the swings are all, honestly, the swing bays are pretty much all the same, because we were very specific about the kind of swings that we wanted. This was their take on the extra equipment on the hill, a spinner down here and the slide. And then they have another spinner there on the port in place. Kind of makes it look like a fort a little bit more. And this is the platform. The first one had the platform was 2. You just couldn't see it in their drawing, but it's a platform to go up and then go down the slide. And again, even the placement of this isn't exactly how our plan was, but it was just to show the equipment, so. I didn't want to confuse you, but I did want you to at least get a look so you could say, I really like this, I really hate the look of this equipment, just so we won't get into that, the other details. All right, and then,
I had a question. Is this the old golf course, the Century
Yes.
Pond?
Yes.
Okay. Are they still deciding it, or is it like confirmed that they're gonna do a park there?
if the development goes through as they're planning, one of the things will be a new city park, yeah. So the development going through will include a park, and that's where our piece comes in. It's a small part of the development, but an important one. So we're kind of deciding, what this park should look like and what features we would want in it. The developer is creating the park and putting the park in, and then we will maintain it afterwards as the city, because it will be a public city park.
I saw like on the Maplewood website that they were thinking of keeping the driving course. Is that still a thing or no?
That I can't speak to.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I could find out, but
Okay, thank you.
sure. All right, and then this one is the last one to show you. And so this one has the tower, the tunnel slides and some climbing ropes, and it's got quite the different look than the other two. And it's got the nice shade structure on the top there. There's a lot of climbing features. I'm sure the colors can all be debatable too. That's one thing we've learned through playground, try to look at the type of equipment, because we could always, when it gets further down the road, say, I like this equipment, but I don't want an orange slide. I want it to just be browns and tans and greens. So that is always a fixable thing, or changeable thing, I should say. Or you may really love the orange slide. And there's a sunshade up there at the top. This gives you a view from,
I like this really big climbing structure on this one. I think
Yeah.
a lot of kids like to climb and just hang out.
There isn't like
Yeah,
any
that's bad.
turnstile feature in this one, is there?
pardon?
There's not like a turnstile feature in this one?
Turnstile, I'm not sure what,
Um,
oh, a
the
merry-go-round.
Thank you.
No, the only one that had the accessible merry-go-round was the
Okay, thank you.
was the one that we showed you, yep. And this one has slides, lots of climbing features, lots of variations of monkey bars and things to climb.
Yeah, I do like that accessible one, though. That one's nice.
Though I do like this one in terms of
And this
like
one, the
how-
slide is
Yes.
built, it's a larger slide built down the hill, and that's,
Honestly, I think the slide is way more memorable with this one, the big slide. I could see like little kids really liking the giant slide.
yeah, this slide is the closest to what the concept that we had originally presented. Instead of, it wasn't just a slide on a hill on the port in place, it was kind of the slide built in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the swing bay. Actually, interesting swing bay. We'd have to switch those out, but those should be 2 toddler swings and then 2 accessible swings, so they don't, but again, that could be fixed, but they're not showing that here. Interesting enough, so, not the easiest way to compare apples to apples, but, so what I wanted to do is just at least put these in front of you. You'll get other chances to see these, but I just wanted to maybe get first impressions, because it's what, I'm done with the computer, thank you. What your thoughts were, and that's why I had the printed up handouts in front of you, so you can kind of scroll between, and just to get like first thoughts on, is there something you absolutely hate? Some things you like, if there are things you like from more than one, that's okay too.
At least for, I guess I'll go first. At least for myself, I like the Finnegan playground design. Just, I feel like it's very distinct and it has a lot of climbing features, which is great. And the giant slide, I think the only thing I would want switched in would be the accessible merry-go-round added. But besides that, I like everything of that one the best.
What are your thoughts on the colors?
I'm not opposed to bright colors. I would leave that maybe up to the developers if they have a color palette that they prefer, but
Thinking if they're by a development, a new development, and businesses and stuff, that's the first thing I thought of when I seen that one, was it was too bright.
Would you be interested in seeing it maybe in some other color palettes?
Maybe, yeah, maybe a tone down.
Darker, yeah.
I'm just thinking if you're having businesses or something right next to it, it might be.
Anyone else? Do you,
I like the Finnegan a lot too, and I especially like the long slide. And I really like the colors that are on it.
Yeah, that,
The
That's
brown
good.
and the tan, I think that's a
on the
really-
slide?
yeah.
It really
Okay.
looks cool to me, and I think the kids would get a real big kick out of it. So that's a big selling point for me. Otherwise, I just like the look of everything that they've offered here. I mean, I think it just, the design, to me, looks better than the other two. Not that the other two are bad, but I like the Finnegan idea, and I don't have any issues with the colors, but I also respect what she's saying about the businesses possibly having issues with that.
Did you guys have?
I like the Finnegan one because I like the equipment more, and for the colors, I like how it's like bright and stuff. But if like it would be possible to do a different color palette, one that's like suits each other more. But I do like it, and I feel like it's better because the other ones, while I was looking at them, it's like more suited for like younger kids and stuff. So I like how this one, it's like there's still stuff for younger kids and older kids to use.
I also liked the Finnegan playground. I thought that the brighter colors would be more inviting to the children that were using it rather than the adults around them. But I can also see the business point of view. I thought that it was more inviting towards older children while still having stuff for younger children with the long slide down by the hill. And the overall layout of the playground seems a lot more climbing accessible, where you can go higher up, as the other two were more low to the ground and just a bit more spread out.
Sure, options. And one thing about the color, just to clarify, this would be right in among the homes, so there won't be businesses around, but the homes are very close all around it, so they're, just to clarify that, so, and just because the reason I brought up the color is just to tell you that they could offer some other color options, and one thing to keep in mind is, with something like this, close to homes I found in the past sometimes, but, you know, they're like, well, with the color, but then again, at Harvest, people loved when we ended up picking the bright colors, and it looked great, so it's not that it's bad, it's just like they can they can change this out to make it a more muted palette, to make it see, because our original plan was to have more natural play equipment, so if we went with something like this where it wasn't logs or whatever, but if it was more natural colors, it's an option, but.
I like the other two where they have more than one play structure on the hill. I think that's a good use of the space.
So maybe they could do a spinny thing up on the hill.
Or something else than just a single slide, so that's why I kind of like the other two options a little bit. On this Finnegan one, though, one thing that I noticed that they had is on that big climbing structure, which I think is kind of a unique feature. We don't really have, I don't know if we have anything like that at any of our other Maplewood parks.
I'm gonna pull it up here, hang on one second.
They also have, it looks like, some things that you can play with on these like teal walls. And I can't quite tell if the other designs have that, but that's kind of nice for kids,
With autism or,
right, who need like to touch things.
sure, like a sensory.
It's possible they have it on these other designs and I just can't see it, but I like that feature as well.
Sure.
I also wanted to add to the Finnegan. It seems more kid-friendly almost. These other ones seem a bit more like designed by adults.
Okay?
And these ones look appealing to a small child, you know? Like, ooh, big, fun, colorful,
Sure.
I want to go play, instead of, I don't want to play on a log.
I think the other
Yeah.
two are more old-fashioned and kind of like, I don't know, a little, like you're playing in a house or something. I think this looks more exciting and inviting.
Sure. Great. Any other feedback?
Okay, do we have any visitor presentations? It doesn't look like. Commission presentations? Anyone? Nope. All right, staff presentation.
Okay, great. And Chair, members of the commission, I will take these comments back, and then we'll be meeting with the developers again as we go, but they were really interested in hearing your feedback, because they wanted to know if they were on the right track. And like I said, we're in the very beginning stages of this, but we'll keep updating you. It'll probably be on the unfinished business on our list for a little while, but that'll be great, because then we'll get to something, hopefully, a really great product. Okay, it's getting late, so I'll just give you a couple of updates. I did want to mention that we are doing, and especially because we keep getting lots of snow, we are doing our snowshoe rental. We have had groups coming out to the Nature Center, so between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m., Monday through Friday, on the Nature Center grounds. It's $5 a pair for a two-hour rental, and you can come rent the snowshoes that we have. They're the ones that the Friends of Maplewood Nature bought for the Nature Center. And we actually had a group out last week from a company that works with adults with disabilities, and they came out, and we even had a brave snowshoer came out with her walker, and she went out on snowshoes, and they had a great time. So it was a lot of fun, and we've had groups come, and so anytime you can just come to the Nature Center and check out a pair of snowshoes, we welcome. And it's always good if there's at least 4 inches of snow on the ground. Before we got this fresh snow, the snow was getting a little hard and icy, but, you know, if there's a fresh snowfall, come on out to the Nature Center. We'll get you hooked up with some snowshoes. All right. And then one last thing I will share with you is we have weather permitting, and this year we've had a challenge with the snow coming here, there, and everywhere, but the ice has been better than it's been last year. I don't know if you remember, the warming houses were open for 6 days, the whole entire season. We had 6 days but this year is totally different. So they're doing the Come Skate with your police officers and firefighters on February 15th. That could be your first community engagement event that if you want to come to commissioners, student commissioners, if you want to come out on February 15th from 12 to 3 at Wakefield, bring your own skates, but if you don't have them, Strauss Skates will provide skates so that you can try on a pair of skates if you don't have them, and come hang out. It's a lot of fun. You can come and just watch and cheer. You can come play boot hockey if you want to, Terry. All right. And let's see. Do I have another? You know what? I think, I got to share the Rev Sports schedule really quick. This will be a fast one, but just to let you know then the upcoming Rev Sports classes. Yeah, they're already starting. Yep. Yeah, the little basketballs and the little hoops, yep. It's organized chaos, it's fun, yeah. So we have Rev Sports classes on Thursdays out at Edgerton, starting January 22nd through February 12th. So you can still sign up for basketball, so if you're interested, you can check it out. And that's all I have.
If nobody has anything else, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.